we're going to be joined by our guest, Mr. Gboyega Adejumo, who is a member of the Patriots Group and also chair of the Southwest Committee, who are trying to draw up a constitution, a new constitution for Nigeria, which the Patriots Group has been speaking about for quite a while now. Don't forget that the Patriots Group is headed by none other than Chief Emeka Anyaoku, former UN Secretary General, and they've been speaking about how Nigeria needs to get a new constitution. I do not know how that is going to affect, whether that will affect their perspective on the presentation of the budget this morning. But hey, our guest is right here with us. Mr. Adejumo, we thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise Daily this morning.
It's a delight to be back.
Indeed.
Good to have me.
Great. I'm just wondering if you are feeling the mood. I mean, right here in Abuja, everybody is looking towards the National Assembly today for the presentation of the budget. We have been told that it's going to be a 47.9 trillion naira. You can say almost 48 trillion if you like to round it off. I do not know what your perspective is on our annual ritual, this presentation of the budget. As a member of the Patriots, is there a particular perspective that the group has towards the presentation of our budget?
I wouldn't say for the group as it is. We're yet to come up with a statement on that. But I can give you something close to the thinking and the perspective of the Patriots, of this very distinguished men and women who have come together to do a salvage mission on Nigeria to make sure that we steer the ship of state in the right path. Again, we have come to one of such areas that we find very, very abnormal in the course of building a nation, the way and manner we go into budget presentation. And I will start by saying that we have a problem. And the problem is, how do we begin to look at a job description? And then after finding out what the job description is all about, that is when we can easily now begin to identify who can fit into the job role. But in Nigeria, what we do is we hire first, and then we start to deploy. Why do we need a budget? Is it because we want to bring growth and development to the people, or we simply want to enhance what we know how to do best, which is actually taking the wrong step of development, wrong by wrong? Are we enhancing consumption, or are we on the path to production? Are we on the path to growth? Are we on the path to development? I'll give you an example. The United Nations, and we can't have it any better than that for now. We had a League of Nations that didn't quite work. So we have the United Nations until we have such another body that perhaps is capable of bringing superior ideas. But in their wisdom, they have come to give to the world certain models to get out of poverty. Your budget on education has to be 16% and above of the total to get out of poverty. And to be able to maintain a growth and development program, your budget on health has to be above 16% of the budget. Now, I think it was only President Jonathan and President Obasanjo that attempted something above 8 to 10%. I don't think we've had it up to 16% in the last 25 years. In the First Republic, yes, we had Papa Awolowo, who actually went on to do a whole lot more than 20% on education and 18% on health. But we've never had it. And the statistics speak for themselves. If you go to a place like Singapore, you go to a place like even India, that used to be the poverty capital of the world, they are doing about 19% on education. Why are we doing 6%? And if we have not been able to identify these areas over the time that are the main areas that are stifling our growth, that is holding us back, and we continue to do the same thing. Is that not mediocrity? Why do we say that a budget is something that we take to the National Assembly for approval? For approval for what? What is the principle behind it? There should be an ideology. Is the budget just a mere semantics to say, oh, budget of hope? What hope? Is it a budget of development? Where are we developing? Is it a budget to make sure we get out of poverty? Is it a budget to bring our inflation rate, which is, as of this month, 34.6% down? And as we are approaching 40%, is it not going to be clear to everyone that we are going to enter the hyper inflation stage? And which country has ever gotten out of hyperinflation? So we have a systemic problem that every government passes on to another government. It is the time for budget, and what do? The civil servants that have been preparing it for ages, they sit down and then they do the same thing all over, which mostly is about budget of consumption, budget of waste. They will always budget for the refineries that are not working. Thank God we hear that Port Harcourt refinery is working. But inside that budget, there will be some budget for the ones that are not working in Kaduna and Warri and elsewhere. And in other moribund establishments, we had our president who told us, ab initio, that is going to follow the oversight report. Now, before the oversight report, we had how many ministries? Now we've added more ministries. We've added more parastatals. And this is a report that actually reduced the number of ministries. That's the oversight report. That reduced the number of parastatals and agencies. But now it's all bloated up. So what budget do we have? The kind of wastages we've been carrying all along is most likely what we are going to meet there. So what are the expectations of the people? What are the expectations of the Patriots group? What are the expectations of every other group that wants to see growth and development in our time?
You've raised quite a number of issues, sir. I mean, I'm taking a look at, you've asked, for instance, why do we present it to the National Assembly, you know, and then the linkages between the theme of each budget presented and what it is that we seek to achieve. Let me ask you this. Are you saying that you're not quite clear on why it is that the president has to present the budget to the National Assembly? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what is the substance? What exactly are we presenting? Is it a cosmetic thing? Is it just a ritual we go through every year? If we want to sell something, it is the onus.
Yeah, but part of the
responsibility is on the government to let us know what exactly you are presenting. Indeed. We want to know exactly what this budget is going to do for us. Is it going to help us to grow? Is it going to stop all the wastages? Is it going to make sure that we're on the development level to the extent that we can eradicate poverty? Nigeria is not the poverty capital of the world.
Well,
what exactly is this budget about?
Yeah, Mr. Adejumo, part of the question you raised was, why do we present the budget to the National Assembly?
I'm saying that is a constitutional requirement, fine. But out of all of this idea of having to go to the National Assembly should be the bigger picture of what is it going to do for Nigerians. Okay, it's a one-day thing. We take it to the Assembly, we clap, we say, oh, it's a budget of hope.
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, people will say the National Assembly, they are supposed to be the representatives. I mean, they are the ones who are supposed to influence the input of Nigerians into that particular budget. So if there are questions to be raised as to the trajectory, the focus of the budget, isn't that within the purview of the National Assembly to raise? Do you think that perhaps this should be a question and answer session between the president and the National Assembly, for instance?
I'm so happy you brought this up, because this happened last year, and it's most likely going to happen again. And then we had a padded budget. That is where all of this is leading to. That is where I am leading everyone to. Now the budget gets to the National Assembly, and then the bricks splats. It is being padded here, it's been padded here. And certain statements were made last year which needed interrogation. And again, I would blame the press, because all of this will have to be brought out one day, and who best to do it other than the press? There was this statement that the budget was padded up at the National Assembly level, And then the National Assembly was saying that the executive, they made their own mistakes. At the end of the day, it was a case of no victor, no victory. There was a statement that said, oh, you robbed my back, I robbed your back. We know that the National Assembly padded it, but then we wanted it passed. So at the end of the day, we shook hands over irregularities, over padded borders, and then we moved on. And that is the point. So in which case, the whole thing needs a total overhaul. We're not even just talking of the executive presenting this budget to the National Assembly. We're talking about even the very construct of the process of having to take it to the National Assembly and what goes on there. But I'm saying for emphasis, if you have that budget, which has been re-engineered, which is not like the budget of old, which will have all the loopholes for padding, if we truly want to have the kind of hope, the kind of change, the kind of attitude to give us Nigerians the confidence that we have a government that knows exactly what to do with the budget, then we won't be preparing the budget like we used to. And I'll give you an example. Sometime in the 90s, in the UK, people were doing the ticketing thing at parking lots. And they were printing their own tickets and selling tickets, their own tickets along with the government ticket. The government found out. They didn't go and arrest anyone. What they did was simply to go electronic. They simply went electronic and they changed it to coins, and those coins were not sellable coins. They are not tenable coins, but they're only used for car parks. Later, it became electronic gates. So it took away the human factor from the corrupt situation. Why are we like this? We had an Okonjo-Iweala who told us about how she discovered about 2 to 3 billion naira wastages in one parastatal or agency or ministry. And she went about it the scientific way. Why don't we have all of that with what we want to present to the National Assembly so that there will be very little in terms of human tampering? If for example, you take a budget that is something like a template that has been prepared, maybe like 15 years ago, everybody just adds up to it, they take from it, everybody wants part of it, consumption. People just want to reap whatever they want from the budget, and they pad everything. And then, of course, the building and National Assembly, they will know. And it's like, oh, you've done this for yourself. Then they will do this for ourselves too. So it is that element that I am saying, and many are saying, would have to be addressed. We are no longer in the analog world. We are now in the digital world. It is what we need. Not what we want.
Us to be able to.
We need to put into this budget so that it can be foolproof.
Exactly. I mean, it's important. It's a very instructive thing that you've mentioned there, Mr. Adejumo. The human tampering and this budget padding issue. It's a long conversation, and of course the methodology, which is something that you've been talking about since you joined us. But I want us to be able to move on to impact. What impact do you see this budget having on the Nigerian in 2025? Because it's one thing
I have not seen the budget.
I mean, when he presents it, with the figures that we've seen and with the breakdowns that we've been hearing over the past few days, is this the budget that will lift the Nigerian out of his situation right now? Or is there something else that should be happening?
I can bet everything is not going to lift anyone out of the predicament in which we are in. And the answer is very simple. Let's look at it. We are talking about, trillions of naira? What trillions of naira? We're spending dollars. It's as simple as we earn in dollars, we spend in dollars, our money is denominated in dollars. And all you have to do is just use the exchange rate any which way. Well, it's supposed to be like now it's been put together, streamlined in such a way that the parallel market and the main market are the same. But use whatever figures you want to use. Translate this in trillions of naira to dollars, you probably will not get anything more than $28 billion. Now, $28 billion, just about the budget of the fire department of New York State. Not even the fire departments in all of New York, $28 billion. That's all. I don't think we've had a budget that is beyond $30 billion. So the trillions of naira do not mean anything. Everything is in dollars. Now, if you look at $28 billion, South Africa is doing $166 billion budget in a year, South Africa. So what is our $28 billion? And how is it going to lift us up? Looking at the way wastages, and if we want to do a good synopsis of how we spend money on what is good and what is trivial, on what is important and what is not important, then let's look at the performance of the budget of the previous years, plus the way we spend money and renovate houses with 22 billion here in Abuja, and 5 billion here in Lagos, and every other thing that we buy, and every other amount of money that people are stealing, and then somebody is taken to court for 200 billion, is given bail, and somebody is, all of this put together will tell you that what we do is never going to bring out the kind of results that will lift us out of anywhere. If we continue to do everything that is wrong, and we are getting the kind of results that come with doing something wrong, how do we now hope that suddenly it's going to turn around? It's never going to happen that way. Heavens were not made that way. Heavens and the earth are made in order. Otherwise, there's chaos. What we have here is chaos. The only way to treat chaos is to go and dismantle the system, is to go and dismantle every other platform, the foundation that has created this chaos. Until we do such a thing, no budget is going to do it for us. Unless you tell me, okay, in this budget, this year, what we want to face is education. We have about 40 to 50 million children out of school, maybe 30 million in the north, maybe 20 in the south, and we want to face them. So this budget for this year is about education, then we know. If you say it's about health, then we know. Then if you say it's about growth and development, then we know. Now let's look at it. A new ministry has been created for livestock. If I'm to think critically, and I'm thinking, and I'm saying it, critical thinking. I'm talking about not dissonance. Critical thinking. Is it about livestock? Is that what we lack? We have enough cows, but what we lack is foodstuffs. What we lack is food insecurity. That's what we have. If we have food insecurity, then why are we not doing the real estate thing in terms of mapping out land for agriculture and making it designated and looking at how many pieces of yam do we need? There was a time President Obasanjo did something fantastic. In the whole of West Africa, we were doing well with cassava. Suddenly we were 10th. And there was a cassava multiplication project in 3 states. So Obasanjo came and saw it and realized that we have to up it. And it started the root and tuber expansion program. That year,
we could talk all day, but we do have to touch on other topics on this particular conversation that we're having, Mr. Adejumo.
We need to pick sectors.
Picking sectors and focusing on them. We understand that, but I want to be able to get. I want you to be able to get your thoughts on blocking government spending, because we have to be able to touch a lot of things. One thing, you mentioned it, funding infrastructure growth or developments in sectors by blocking excesses in government spending. How can the Tinubu administration do that in just a few minutes?
Okay, in a few minutes, I'll tell you. There was a debate between President Shagari and he was a candidate there, and Awolowo. And Awolowo said, we will do free education. And Shagari said, you can do it. Awolowo said, why? He said, because there are no funds. Awolowo said, do you know how much it's going to cost? He said, that was 1979. He said, 9 million naira. Okay. Awolowo said, okay, take away all the newspapers from all the government offices. That saves you 3 million. So Shagari said, okay, after that, what happens? Take away all the tea and sugar and they said, okay, that's about 3 million. Shagari said, okay, where will you get the rest 3 million? Awolowo said, you want to be president, you and think. So I'm going to say the same thing to this government. They know where the wastages are. Somebody had said that from the gate of NNPC to the office, the wastages are called there is about 3 billion. Let them look into it. They know where the wastages are. Somebody has worked in one of the refineries that I know. Yeah, he started work there. He went to overseas for training there. He retired there. He got his pension there, and that refinery never produced one drop of oil. So, am I supposed to be the one to tell government? They have had somebody like Okonjo-Iweala. She can tell them where other leakages are. She was able to save a government that was spending about 3 billion on wastages. So get the right people. Look, if President Obasanjo did something well, and President Jonathan did something well, and President Tinubu did something well, I will say so. President Tinubu has done something well, and that is what he did with this tax thing. He got the very best man. I've never met Oyedele in my life, but I know that he's very good with taxation. Get somebody who is very good. We have all these professionals in Nigeria. Dare them to do something about land, apportion land for agriculture. Then let them look at into education. Let us know exactly what we need in all these sectors. Get people who can plug all the wastages, bring them together, save Nigeria, give us a budget that reflects everything that will make us to grow. Not this one that every year there's a template, they just take in some figures and then add some figures and then they take it to where they will pad it up and then the padding and all of that becomes a farce. Oh, you rub my back, I rub your back. That's not what we need.
Okay, I just want to quickly ask your opinion. There's one famous case that's currently going on, between Are Afeba Balola and Mr. Dele Farotimi, a case of libel happening right there in Ekiti State. I do not know if the Patriots have a perspective on that particular case.
Well, I have a perspective because I was, at the time, a member of the Periphery and publicity secretary at the time. So, and Dele and I have been together since 2003, and he's a senior member of our Periphery and an activist and somebody that holds Nigeria so dear and wants the best. But all I would say is that we have a situation. Somebody is accusing somebody of using influence on the judiciary, and well, it was taken away. Somebody will say whisked, somebody will say abducted. Now, it will be sub judice to talk so much about the law, but I can talk about the moral aspect of it. If you've been accused of having done something, and you now come around to show that you are capable of doing it, then you're as guilty as hell. In which case, they said you have stolen a goat, but suddenly they are seeing you with a young lamb under your arm, under your agbada. So what exactly? If the way Amana Dele was taken, and what happens thereafter, and there's a superior court, a federal high court that has given him bail, and a junior court, a magistrate court is holding him ransom, will not listen to bail, either oral or written. A magistrate court is also meant to be a holding court, and the magistrate court is now posting time, not to address bail, but just to reprimand somebody in jail. That is no more justice. That is punishment, and is a moral burden on Nigeria. And I understand something about Justice Kekere, who said when she was coming in that she's going to try and read the judiciary of all the entanglements of corruption and bad deeds. And there was a poem by Niyi Oshundari that talked about corruption in such a satirical manner, but in a very pungent, serious reference to what is happening in Nigeria. So we have a problem of having to have displayed exactly what you are accused of doing by keeping Dele locked up for 20 days. Is that can that ever be justice in a land that we talk about rule of the law? What is rule of law? What does it say? Somebody cannot be held for more than this, and you take the person to court. Is he a criminal? Has he had a criminal offense? Is this a criminal thing such that it is in a magistrate court? And all of what we are talking is about making this country better. But how can it be better with this flagrant display of power? Is it about power or is it about equity? Is it about power or is it about justice? And is justice being served? Now, on Friday again, is going to go back to the same magistrate court, a lower court to the high court. So what is the magistrate going to say? Remand him again, so he spends Christmas, he spends New Year. And then, of course, I'm a Yoruba man, I'm a traditional chief on the line to the throne somewhere. So I'm going to ask, and I'm going to say to my elder, there was a case of Ijapa, that's the tortoise, and his father-in-law. Ijapa did something wrong. Everybody saw it, chastised him, but the father-in-law kept him under lock and chain from morning when people were coming in the evening. It became Ijapa's turn to be chastised in the morning, but in the evening it was the case of the father-in-law. What has Ijapa done?
Well,
So it's
Mr.
a moral
Adejumo,
burden. It's a moral burden. I won't say more than that for now. It's a moral burden, but it is actually it is optical. The optics are pointing to the accuser, and then the accused, and the accused is doing exactly what the accuser accused the person who is displaying what
Mr.
has now
Adejumo,
become.
it's an ongoing matter, and we certainly will hope to catch up with you as the matter evolves. We have to thank you so much for your perspective this morning on both the budget and the Dele Farotimi case. Well, Mr. Gboyega Adejumo is a member of the Patriots Group, and he's been speaking to us on Sunrise Daily. Thank you so much once more for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.